As a professional chef, I've roasted a lot of turkeys in my day. These are my top 5 most shocking tips that are going to transform your Thanksgiving feast. And no, it's not just use a meat thermometer, but we want to do that anyways. Tip number 1, we're going to ditch the roasting pan and the roasting rack in favor of veggies. Now, the most important thing when you're roasting a turkey is you want that air to circulate all the way around the bird. When you're using a roasting pan, it generally has pretty high edges, which traps the heat. Instead, you're going to grab your baking pan. So instead of the roasting rack, we're gonna make our own. The whole goal is you want air to be circulating all the way around the bird, but we also wanna create a lot of flavor. And instead of a roasting rack, we're gonna use veggies. Starting off with some celery. And I'm just cutting this into pieces and throwing it onto my baking sheet. I'm not lining the baking sheet, we're not spraying the baking sheet, less is more. Carrots. We're just trimming off those thinner tips. And then you can leave the stems on, or you can lose them. I'm gonna lose them just because I like how it looks better. I just threw those on the floor also. I'm gonna cut the carrots into about 3-inch pieces and then add them to the baking sheet. Last but not least, let's grab a big ol' onion, and this is gonna form the base of what we rest the turkey on top of. Peel off that outer layer, and then just cut it into quarters. Now we're gonna arrange the veggies so that we can add our turkey right on top. And the whole goal is as the turkey's roasting, all of those drippings are falling into the veggies and roasting and caramelizing on the baking sheet, which means we have the absolute best gravy on the planet. All right, girl, it's your time to shine. Here we go. Beautiful. So you can see my turkey is elevated, air can circulate all the way around it. Think about all of that onion and carrot and celery cooking together and forming the best flavor for our stock. Tip number 2 comes down to the temperature of the bird before it goes into the oven. Now, breasts generally cook a lot faster than legs and thighs. So what we want to do is cool down the temperature of the breasts so that they cook at relatively the same rate. And how are we going to do that? So much butter, but not just ordinary butter. I have made frozen herb cubes with unsalted butter. I'm gonna stuff these underneath the skin. And because they're frozen, they're gonna chill the temperature of the breast meat and allow them to cook at the same rate as the rest of the bird. I feel like that song would be playing right now. I've added rosemary and thyme with the unsalted butter. And the thought process here is on the timing front. If you remember to thaw your bird, when you put your bird in the fridge to thaw, make the cubes at the same time. A lot of times the timeline of Thanksgiving can be stressful, but most importantly, if you're thawing your bird, take that time to then also make these herb cubes. So I'm gonna loosen up the skin between the breast and the top of the bird here. And then I'm gonna stuff the frozen butter cubes inside. And this does 2 things. Because it's frozen, it chills down the breasts, and then of course, there's nothing wrong with a little butter and herbs cooking directly into the turkey. Do 4 on each side here. Last one. And I can already feel the temperature of the breast meat really getting colder. This small delay here in chilling the breasts with the frozen butter allows those legs and thighs to catch up to how quickly the breasts are cooking. Tip number 3, an apple a day keeps the cavity propped open all the way. An apple is gonna help hold the cavity open because again, the whole goal here is you want hot air to circulate all the way, not only around the bird, but inside the bird also. So I'm gonna add a lemon inside first. That's just for flavor. You could add anything else in there, garlic, cloves, other veggies. And then I'm gonna season the inside of the bird as well. Now this is gonna be like a dirty salt pot. That sounded kind of bad, but you know what I'm saying. This is now contaminated. So we're not gonna be using that for anything else. I'm gonna really, really heavily season the inside of the bird with salt and then of course pepper. We'll also get some on the outside now as well. This will get a good Cloroxing later. Okay. Lemons inside. Now time for the apple. Now, why a green apple instead of a red apple? You may think you want a red apple for sweetness, but you actually want a green apple because they have a higher starch content, which means it won't dissolve really quickly in the oven. We're gonna be roasting our bird for hours, and we don't want the apple to just completely melt into the bird. So opt for Granny Smith, plus the tanginess of a Granny Smith apple goes great with all of the other flavors we have going on here. So I'm sticking my apple right on the outside. You don't even need to cut it. And what this is doing is it's propping up the breasts, keeping the cavity open, and allowing air to circulate all within the bird itself. I'm gonna tie up the legs before we get to tip number 4. All right, so she is like ready for her blanket. Why do I keep calling her she? She. And for tip number 4, to baste or not to baste, that is the question. And the answer is, don't do it. But seriously, don't do it. Basting doesn't really do anything. If you think about it, all you're doing is pouring hot fat on top of the bird. Now it's not penetrating into the bird, it's not really doing anything, and a lot of times there's different hot spots in your oven, so part of the bird is getting darker, part of the bird is lighter. For people like me, a food stylist and a recipe developer, I want a bird that's perfectly golden brown all over. I want something that looks like you just took a picture of it and put it in a magazine. So how are we gonna do that? We're gonna use cheesecloth. Soaking the cheesecloth in unsalted butter does 2 things. It creates the warmest, coziest blanket for our good little turkey here, wrapping her up, ensuring that no areas of the turkey are gonna get too dark or not cook enough. And using butter means we're sealing in all that moisture because it steams right into the bird itself. So let's start with 1 whole stick of unsalted butter, which we're gonna melt and then soak our cheesecloth. Butter is melted. Let's talk about our cheesecloth. This is just a very thin, gauzy-like material that's gonna absorb anything it comes into contact with. So I just cut a rectangular piece here, and then I like to fold it over, so it's essentially 2 layers, and then just kind of scrunch it up into a ball and add it into our melted butter. Give this a minute or 2 to really soak up all of that butter before transferring it onto the turkey. And you can see how quickly it has soaked up every last little bit of the butter. So think about it. You now have an entire stick of butter in this piece of cheesecloth that's gonna go on top of the turkey. So I'm just gonna drape it right on the top here and then kind of spread it out so that every part of our bird is covered, including the wings. Tucked in cozy, she is ready for a hot date with the oven. I couldn't say that with a straight face. We're talking about blankets, we're talking about hot dates. Had my hands in here, there's a lot. It's not that kind of video. It's not that kind of video. Okay, self-basting blanket is firmly set all over our turkey. Before we get to tip number 5, let's make sure we moisten up these veggies so they don't get too hot in the oven. You could use water, you could use stock, you could use wine. And for tip number 5, let's talk oven temps. Now there's no rule that says you have to roast a turkey at the exact same temperature for all 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, however long you're gonna roast it. We're gonna start high and then finish low. Popping the bird into the oven at 425 degrees gives it an instant burst of heat, which seals in that moisture and starts that overall golden color on the top of the bird. After 30 minutes, without opening the oven, because remember, we have a self-basting blanket on, so at no point do you need to open the oven to baste. We're gonna drop the temperature down to 350 and continue cooking the turkey until it reaches 165 degrees. Now let's get to it.
That's cute. That's great. I almost walked away.
I had to do it. I mean, we made just like a nice bed for her. She's cozy. I don't know why it's a girl, but it's a girl. Okay, moment of truth. Now, first things first, your cheesecloth should be dark. So this is exactly what we're going for. Your fond should also be dark. The fond is just the caramelized bits of the veggies and the meat juices that have all cooked and roasted together in the bottom of the pan. This makes great gravy. Now the cheesecloth, it should come off pretty easily, but if it doesn't, we're not gonna panic. Use a little bit of that juice from the bottom of the pan to help moisten the cheesecloth, and it'll slip right off. What's so wild about this is, yes, I'm a food stylist. I did not baste this turkey once. Did I baste the turkey? Not once, not a single basting moment in this turkey. It was in at 7 o'clock this morning before I took my kids to school, but not a singular basting moment. The cheesecloth, MVP. You don't have to do anything. Self-basting blanket for the Thanksgiving turkey win. Now, of course, we're gonna let the bird rest for a while, just so all of those juices can recollect in the middle. And then because this is a big bird, you know leftovers are coming, which just so happens to be my specialty. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got much more to come. Look at all the juice coming out. Oh my God. It's wild to me because less effort, but it looks better. That's a big win. Big win, huge.